Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Tony A with 9 Star Niger, coming with content for intellectual Nigerians in the diaspora. If this is your first time on this channel, definitely look at my other videos that I've made. Talked about other topics that could be of interest to you. If you've already been on this channel, appreciate you sharing, liking, commenting on any of my videos. If you have uh, any feedback that you want to give, definitely put it in the comment section so I can take a look at it and I can create more videos that are more tailored to you all. So, I just released my first ebook about relationships. So it's called Four Essential Traits to Look For When Dating. We just had a Valentine's Day, and I'm sure there was a lot of single people. If you don't want to be single again next year, then definitely check out the book. There's um, four things that you should be looking at when you're dating someone, when you're doing the courtship or whatever you want to call it, that can prevent you from making the same mistakes you made before. You can find it on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description, or probably just make it a pinned comment so that you can find it. You can read it. It's a quick read. I think it's about 25 pages or something like that. It's like less than 10,000 words. So you can check it out and take that content in and apply it to your life however way you deem it necessary. So don't want to stay too long. I just want to talk about a story that I knew about since January, and I kind of see these this type of stuff, or it's really is racism when it comes to African people, not really on the continent, not really understanding how racism works. So in this particular case, it was about this young Ugandan. I think she was 23. She was like an activist for like global warming, and basically she went to a convention in Switzerland that talked about how to curb the global warming, and she was picked to go over there, and she was with I think it was four other white people that they made them like sleep in tents, and the whole premise was to get the African leaders, to get out of their comfort zone, something like that. I mean, to me, it was like, okay, not gonna do anything. But so anyway, she did the whole experience, and then when they went to take their photo op to take pictures, so you had the four white people, and then you had her, and I'm sure the picture will come up, and I'll show play the video or whatever. But they basically cropped her out of the picture, and the picture only showed just four white people, and just making it seem like, okay, these are the people that was in attendance, and was really, these young people are the ones that are really advocating for global warming and trying to change it and stuff like that. So once she caught wind of it, she made a response video, and I'll add that to the end of the video. And to the end of this video, she made a response video. She was talking about her experience, what she did, and then she started to break down and cry a little bit. And she was like, "I finally understood what racism means." And she's like, basically, how are we gonna, you know, bring awareness to African nations if we're not? I mean, just stuff like that. And I mean, she's young. Feel kind of bad for her, but this is nothing new. Us in the diaspora, we see this shit all the time. We see um, subtle racism in our daily lives. Uh, it's not always in your face. It's not always direct. I think the worst kinds of racism is when it's it's structural. You can't really see it like that, but it's there. You see the effects, and it's on a systematic level. So anyway, she was just talking about her experience, and I just felt the need to make a video so that I guess you could call it somewhat a little bit empowering type video to get us at least thinking in a direction that can be beneficial to us. So I made some points, and I'm just going to talk about the points and how we can apply it to our daily lives. The first point that I noticed that happens with a lot of Africans in the diaspora is, and even on, especially on the continent, but the ignorance on racism, how deep it goes. From just my experience, a lot of my African brothers and sisters don't know to what extent racism in the U.S. goes to. So I mean, when they hear about slavery or whatever, but they don't really know the implications of what actually occurred and how destructive it was to a lot of generations. Now they can, you know the surface level, but they don't know how wicked and cruel it is. A lot of them just feel, okay, you was on the field, you was just picking cotton, and that was about it. Well, that's what white people tell you in the schools. It's a lot more worse and wicked and sinister than that. I think what really, the first thing that really opened my eyes to how destructive or just how wicked it was when I was hearing about um, like alligator bait, when it was feeding babies to alligators so they can come out and then they could kill the alligator. So they'll just tie the baby to a pole, sit it next to the swamp or whatever. The alligators will come, like chomp up the baby, and then they'll come and get the alligator. I mean, it's some sick shit. But uh, just just a lot of, especially the older generation before me, a lot of them don't really understand uh, what racism is, the systematic approach that has been done to curtail any black progress in this country. COINTELPRO, how they was just spying on black people, the redlining when it comes to real estate, how in certain neighborhoods they will only let black people buy. It'll be the less funded areas, and then the other side will be like more white people, and it'll have more resources and stuff like that. That's one. Police brutality. I'm sure we see plenty of videos of what goes on these police cameras and how police officers continuously get off. So you got all this going on, and sometimes I just feel, at least my community. I'll just talk about Nigerian community. We close ourselves off to what's really going on in the world. A lot of us are really really religious, and they don't really make that connection with what's going on and how it relates to scriptural evidence of that was already prophesied and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into it, but um, it's time to stop being naive. If you continue to act like, and I'm not saying you, but if we continue to act like this ain't a major issue and this ain't like uh, we're not in a situation of urgency, then we're gonna keep losing, and we're gonna keep hearing stories like this where someone didn't know this was gonna happen to them, and then they, it's just tragic for her to, I guess, go through this it's kind of torture, and especially this just being on the main screen. So yeah, we definitely got to clean up that whole naivety when it comes to racism, and just understand, like, look, we're on two different teams. These people are not our friends. You can have one or two. I'm not saying everyone, but for the most part, you need to be looking out for yourself. We really got the like. There's just I'm just getting tired of this all I didn't know type attitude. It's played out. It's 2020. It's a new decade. Like, let's start making some moves. Um, the second thing I get when I see us get brutalized by the system or however it is, it's just a feeling of like helplessness, um, not feeling that you can do anything. Uh, just, I mean, no change in character. Like, there's no actionable response to it. It's just, oh man, let's just complain. Oh, this isn't right. This isn't right. Like, and then it's like we're banking on the morality of the oppressor changing their ways. And it's insane when you think about it. I mean, they haven't showed a history of doing that, but a lot of us just believe, oh man, this ain't right, this ain't right. Like, you're gonna make them feel guilty. They don't care, and it's not doing us any justice when we're relying on that wicked entity to change their tone and to change the way that they view us and how um, they act towards us. It's We're better off if we take our power and we realize, yo, we can do this stuff ourselves, or we need to come together, form, get together, surrounded by what makes us great. Just use love to come together and really find solutions that can really make tangible change in our lives and in our communities. So, just the feeling of hopelessness and just being weak and powerless, I just get tired of seeing it. I get tired of seeing it. I get tired of seeing the videos. I get tired of seeing people cry, and something happens to them, and it's just it's getting old, and it's like, at what point do you just stand up and say, you know what, I'm gonna fight back? So that's one thing I noticed. And last point is we're too damn reactionary. We're never taking a proactive approach. So we've seen stories where other people will mistreat us, and not so much, not only the West, but especially China in the continent, and it just over and over and over. I keep seeing the stories of abuse and just humiliation. Going towards this is just like, okay, like, why do we keep reacting to it? Why do we keep talking about, oh yeah, they're evil? Yes, we know this. We all know these wicked people are out here. What are we gonna do? What power move are we gonna make so that it doesn't happen again? Like, you got to stand up to the bully in order for the bully to stop picking on you. You cannot just be passive and just get on the defensive every time you feel attacked or you get attacked. It's gonna continue, and not only is it can be bad physically, it's also psychologically. Like, you're training yourself to believe that you can't do anything, and in turn you just accept and you get complacent about what's going on in your life, and what's going on in other people's lives. And also, even if it just happens to you and you say, okay, it's just me, I'm just gonna forgive or whatever, forget about it. It also has implications on other black people, because it now you're just making it seem like, okay, we all just accept it and we all just let it go. There's certain stories that I see where, this whole forgiveness thing, or a lot of this meek, just passive passive attitude comes out of us in times of stress and just disappointment and tragedy. And it just it doesn't help our, well, I'm not gonna say that, but it has to get to a point where we start taking a direct role in protecting ourselves and armoring ourselves with what we need to do, not necessarily like weapons, but with knowledge or whatever we need to do to fight back and create our own narrative that we are not a people that is just going to continue to be beaten down and abused, and all the negativity that goes along with it. So those are my those are the points that I want to make from the video that I'll show you towards the end. As far as, well, what I believe why this occurs a lot is just lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worth. We don't, like, we pretty much we've been trained to seek the validation from white people. So when we find ourselves in situations of not being appreciated, we feel like it's weird. We cry again to white people to say, "Oh, you got to make it right," and it's just like, we don't need to do that. We can be in control of our own destiny. We have the intellect, we have the experience. We are amazing people. We are creators. This whole white validation, or I don't know. It's lack of self esteem that's causing a lot of it, and it's especially sad when I continue to learn about the history of different African tribes and nations, right, before colonization, and I just see the power and how they moved, and how, just the pride that they had. And when I see how we react to a lot of these situations, it's just like, damn, we are fucking defeated. Sorry to cuss, but I mean, it's all about your mindset, and what you see yourself as. So, as a solution, is arming ourselves with the truth. You got to learn what's false, what's not. Look at the sources that you get your information from. Do self study. You can't be lazy about this, and really, just study history and look at facts and look at, compare what you've been taught versus what you self study yourself. So it's an active. You got to take an active role and decolonizing your mind basically, and realizing that no, you come from a lineage of strong people. Our downfall was we were just too friendly, too accepting, and too accommodating, to a fault. And it's just, you got to get to the point where we got to switch all up, got to learn what we need to learn, and we got to arm ourselves with the truth so that we can fight back, and that we can protect ourselves, and also see patterns that has happened in history, and learn how to maneuver around, certain tactics that continuously happen to us. I mean, history repeating itself. We got to find ways to avoid it. Bringing it back to, I guess, to Nigeria, since this is about Nigeria, but it really can be applied to anywhere. The the point is we got to control our narrative. We have to control what media is put out about us. We have to get control of what's being done positive on the continent or in our lives in our communities. We have to start creating think tanks in order to, create plans, strategic plans on how we can solve the problems ourselves instead of just relying on outside sources. It's one thing to partner with, you know, another, let's just say a foreigner. You just want to make sure that relationship is mutually beneficial. You don't want the relationship to be in a paternalistic um, way. You just got to be careful. But we ain't gonna get to that point if we don't know how to develop our self esteem. Because right now our self esteem is weak. Like, and you might not know it. A lot of us don't know it. This is what this channel is for. Really to point out a lot of these issues that I keep on seeing, and it's just it just gets tiring seeing this every day, and then seeing the same people complain over and over and over, and they don't even understand that their complaints are not doing anything to change the situation. It's just it's just more babble over and over about something that's not going to change because they're not doing anything about it. So that's what I feel we should be working on. And I'm gonna play the video for you so you could kind of check out what she's saying. Very, um, it's unfortunate. Hopefully she wakes up from it and she kind of sees how a little bit how the world is and how they really don't care. So I'm gonna play her and you can kind of see what I'm talking about.
And I have seen people being affected by the climate crisis in my country and in Africa and in various parts of the world. And I have seen people die and how people lose their families, people lose their children, people lose their homes and everything that they ever dreamed of and hoped for. And I just saw all these things and I'm like, who is going to be able to speak for all these people? This is the first time in my life that I understood the definition of the word racism. And they have the guts to change the photo without even giving an explanation or giving an apology. Does that mean that I have no value as an African activist, or the people from Africa don't have any value at all? But we don't deserve this. Africa is the least emitter of carbons, but we are the most affected by the climate crisis. But you erasing our voices won't change anything. You erasing our stories won't change anything.